The first cannon that we're going to fire for you today is that little brass 12-pound field howitzer. This is an example of a smooth bore cannon, meaning the inside of that barrel is smooth. The projectile it fires is shaped like your typical cannonball, but that is not a very aerodynamic object. Maximum range of a smooth bore cannon is 1 mile. However, this cannon is so small that you would typically see it on battlefields, not in forts or shooting at forts, but actually used against flesh and blood. It takes at least a crew of 6 men to be able to effectively load and fire this cannon, and you will see that each of them has some tools for the job, and they will work together in a choreographed dance to make it go off. Load. And with the command load, the dance begins. The cannoneer at the front right of the piece has a sponge rammer. He will dampen the sponge and sponge out the barrel to put out any sparks or embers left behind from the previous shot. Meanwhile, cannoneer number 3 at the right rear of the piece has his thumb over a hole called the vent at the back of the cannon to prevent any air from coming in or out of the barrel during the loading and firing process. Meanwhile, the rear cannoneer has gone back to this 2-wheeled vehicle called a limber. This is the ammunition chest. He's got a round in a leather haversack, which he will now bring up to the gunner. He has passed the round. It is the correct one. He will then bring it up to cannoneer number 2 at the front left of the piece, reaches in, grabs that charge, and will insert it into the muzzle. Here's a note, friends. We're not actually shooting a projectile today. But trust me, those 10 ounces of gunpowder are going to sound just like they were. After number 1 rams the charge to the breech or the back of the cannon, cannoneer number 3 goes to that trail hand spike, uses around a lever to move the gun left to right. Touchdown sign means the gun is aimed to the gunner's satisfaction. And with the command ready, the 2 rear cannoneers step in. One pokes a hole in the powder bag with a priming wire. The other inserts a friction primer, which is going to be attached to a lanyard, and then he will stretch that out nice and taut. Now would be the time to cover your ears. This will be loud.
Nice. Was it good? I felt the shake.
And if you enjoyed that one, boy oh boy. Still fires in the National Park Service. Our 30-pound Parrot rifle.
30 pounds. So this was 10 pounds. If I got it right. Okay.
Alright, so now they're going from that 12-pound field howitzer, a gun that would be used on the
so
field,
12 pounds.
pulled by a team of 6 horses, over to a siege gun. This is a much bigger piece, therefore it was less mobile, and so it was used in sieges, typically in forts shooting at ships, or on ships or on land shooting at forts. And as the name suggests,
Edward, this is going to be a good one. 30
30
pounds.
A 30-pound projectile.
Oh, 30 pounds project.
Since this is a bigger gun, they are going to need bigger tools for the job, and you'll see that they are getting these, the wooden hand spikes will tell you what that's for in just a moment. But this is a rifle cannon, meaning the inside of that barrel is not smooth. There are grooves carved in a spiral motion, and it shoots a bullet-shaped projectile. And with the command load, the dance begins. This time you'll see that the sponge rammer is not one tool, it is actually 2 separate ones. So they will dampen the sponge once again, and number 1 will be assisted by cannoneer number 2 to sponge out the barrel. Meanwhile, the 2 rear cannoneers have gone back to the limber to grab the round and place it into a wooden pass box. This will then be brought up towards the muzzle. And all the while, the gunner now has his finger over the vent, that hole at the back of the cannon, to prevent any air from coming in or out of the barrel during the process. Now, number 1 will grab the rammer, while number 2 turns to grab the charge, 16 ounces of gunpowder, from the pack box,
So
place it into
first
the
one was
muzzle.
10. 10
for
ounces.
cannoneer
This one is
number
16, I
to
believe.
then ram to the back, called the breech of the cannon itself. Now, this is an example of the cannons that the United States used during the bombardment of Fort Pulaski that knocked down the fort's 11-foot thick walls. 5,275 projectiles were fired at this fort, equaling 251 tons of iron. Now, when this gun would go off, typically it would recoil backward several feet. You would need to move it back forward into its forward firing position, called in battery. Now, I don't actually want my cannon going anywhere, but I thought they put on a pretty good show. So now the two rear cannoneers will go to the trail, the part that touches the ground, and move the cannon left to right to help the gunner aim while he uses a sight and the elevation screw at the back of the cannon to elevate the muzzle up and down. Touchdown sign means the gun is aimed to the gunner's satisfaction. And once that priming wire is removed, as well as the sight, then the ready sequence is set to begin. And with the command ready, number 3 cannoneer steps in, inserts a friction primer attached to a lanyard, which will then be stretched out nice and taut. Now would be the time to cover your ears. The shot will be even louder.
Whoa! That was man.